EVE Online, Friday the 13th. Oh, great. 2020. Let's take a look at, I'm here with a ton of people. We just did a pre-show called Quarantine in Stations where we were talking about COVID and trying to get information out about it. We'll talk about that in public after this show, but we just want to give you some EVE news because there's some stuff going on. Let's look at the statistics real quick, see if there's anything interesting. It looks like, yeah, you know what? We can't do statistics for at least a week or so because killing is a means of, which is an event for PvPers, has everybody killing their ult so they can get experience points for the day. So the statistics are just going to be not something that we can rely upon. So that's going to be the duration of this as people farm. Goonswarm lost, looks like 1,470 players in the last 7 days. That's not a lot compared to their size of about 30,000. Well, here's what's interesting and here's what's happening. Trigger Happy is losing 295 combatants. Snuffed has gained 237. Guess what's happening? Snuff is back. Snuffed Out is back. I think enough things have changed to interest them into constituting Snuffed Out again, but Trigger Happy that housed a lot of Snuff is now losing players and possibly we don't know what's going to happen there, but Snuff is back is the big thing going on there. If you look at Outer Hell, they picked up 161 new players. I think that's a renting group though. So, okay. So that's the big news. Snuffed is back. Let's look at, go to kills real quick and make sure that we're not missing out on something that is significant here. Oh, there's a big fight in Vey, and this must be what it was over. This intergalactic space hobos lost in Asbal. And there was a big fight yesterday on that. I don't know if it was huge.
Were there last night.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a big fight, but it was like a fun fight, I think. Or I don't know. I don't know if it was fun, but I heard about it yesterday while it was happening.
By reports, it was fun.
Okay. And it looked like it was over in Asbel, since it's here on the kill list. We also have Fortizar killed in L1S TAC in Great Wildlands that belonged to Nocturnal Legion. It was killed by Solaris. And those are the two stations that were killed yesterday. Okay, the big thing that I want to show you today is actually EVE Pulse video, which somebody was so kind to give us before. I thought I had it prepared. Here it is. So let's go ahead and listen to that. We'll keep quiet. Actually, I could do that just by muting myself. And we will play this now so you guys can see what it is. Actually, I'll restart it this way.
Hey Capsuleers, welcome to The Pulse, your regular catch-up for everything that's been happening in EVE Online. What an episode we have for you today. The CSM were here last week for their summit, and as promised, we have a summary of everything that was spoken about, so we're going straight to CCP Dopamine.
Hey, CCP Dopamine here with a quick CSM update. We had a great several days last week during the CSM Summit with over 30 sessions discussing topics ranging from Citadel time zone tanking, CCP's plans for the second quadrant of this year, communication, factional warfare and much more. What has been great specifically were the presentations delivered by the CSM members themselves on the subjects like the state of the industry or non-consensual PvP. We absolutely love those and we want to hear more from you, and we will definitely be creating more opportunities to facilitate this type of knowledge sharing. We are currently reviewing the CSM meeting minutes and plan to have them published by the end of this month. However, we're going to be taking a slightly different approach this time around and delivering them in a bullet point format just to make sure that everything is concise and on point. Thanks very much. Dopamine out.
Vigilance against cheating in EVE Online is an ongoing process, and it's a fight that we are totally committed to. Here's CCP Ratati to tell you a little bit more.
Hey Capsuleers! At CCP we define the trifecta of cheating as account hacking, task automation, aka botting, and fraud. credit card theft. According to our player surveys, botting remains a key concern to a majority of our players. However, that is only because it's the most visible of the cheating methods available to RMT providers. Since the task force was formed almost a year ago, we have reached a real and measurable success in the war on bots. I cannot go into further details, but we have made improvements to our tools and plan to make further improvements. Player reporting has been a huge success, mainly because of the positive feedback loop implemented last year. Keep those reports coming, and remember, no one is banned on reports alone. Even though visible botting still exists, we can assure you that our strategy has reduced the impact of botting on the ecosystem by over 80% in the last year. That is both the number of botters and the wealth generated. Account safety is something we care deeply about, so please enable two-factor authentication on all your accounts. Finally, buying ISK from RMT organizations is just as bad as botting, stealing credit cards, and account hacking. The RMTers are doing all of those things, and by buying from them, you are condoning that behavior. We enforce a zero-tolerance policy on all forms of cheating, and we will not rest until we achieve that goal. Be well and fly safe.
He's cloaked, he's hiding in wormhole space. It can only be CCP content.
Hey guys, I'm in J164430, also known as Solaris. It's the home wormhole of the Dark Space Initiative, and recently they've come under attack by Hard Knocks and their allies. They're working on evicting him from the hole, and I've got eyes on a fleet moving through the system just now. And it looks like they're wearing the new Oasis of Faith skin, available in the new Eden store now for all Amar ships. For as little as 55 plex, you can pick up one of these skins for your frigate, destroyer, cruiser, or battlecruiser, and there's also options available for battleships and capital ships. And they look absolutely fantastic. Who knew Amar ships would look so good in green? Apart from Visium, of course. But that's right, I just remembered. The skilling is just a means of communication event is in effect until the 14th of April. Every day at downtime, daily challenges will be issued to pilots all throughout New Eden, and you can rack up thousands of skill points in this period just by shooting your fellow space enthusiasts in the face. Luckily for me, I'm in a cloaked ship, so I don't have anything to worry about. Hi Stabs, don't fail me now. I think I made it. Yeah, I just made it. Awesome. Well, I'll see you on the next episode of The Pulse.
Now for something extra special, a blast from the past, we're going to hand over to our videographer extraordinaire, CCP Zon 3.
Hey! When CCP launched the Apocrypha expansion back in 2009, we also released a trailer. For those of you that played the game back then, you might remember the trailer was mysterious. There was no dialogue. The music was spooky. It felt strange. It felt alien. As it happens, a voiceover was recorded, but there was much internal discussion at the time over which version of the trailer to release, with voiceover, without voiceover. Ultimately, it was decided to go with the version without voiceover, instead letting the music take centre stage, enhancing this feeling of mystery and strangeness surrounding the appearance of wormholes across New Eden. 11 years on, and we thought it would be a good idea to show you the other version, to let you experience it from a fresh perspective. So here it is, version 2 of the Apocrypha expansion trailer.
They say we find our true selves when faced with terror. That in our darkest hour, we find the will to be noble and the strength to be brave. Our virtue will be tested as never before, as we venture towards the haunting image of our past and find a legacy both alien and familiar. lands of our ancestry hold secrets. Precious knowledge that will change the course of mankind. You will need all your courage to find them, because you are the only one who can.
Wow.
You can't have a wormhole without a worm, so while we're on the subject of wormholes and life forms living in isolated regions of space, there's been some interesting developments in the Reykjavik office this week. As you may know, we will soon be moving to a new building here in Reykjavik, and the fish tank in the current office is being cleared out. While cleaning out the tank last week, a 1 meter long worm was found that is believed to have been living there for up to 12 years. Having probably arrived as larvae on coral, this creature, dubbed Valdimar, has undoubtedly been secretly ganking intruders into its space. The story was even covered by local news here in Iceland. So if Valdimar has gotten this big in 12 years, how big can we expect him to get in over 20,000 years? With FanFest 2020 cancelled due to the spread of the coronavirus, we wanted to let our capsuleers know to stay calm, as the content intended for FanFest will be coming to our community soon. That's all for this episode of The Pulse. Remember to hit subscribe to stay up to date with all the videos that we post, and if you've missed it, you can catch last week's episode of The Pulse as well. See you next time, capsuleers.
All right.
Nightmare fuel.
I like that little plug for the new skins. I thought that was pretty clever.
What's that? Oh, the Galente reference? Or
No, the Oasis of Faith skin's available for all Amar hulls. Every once in a while, CCP releases a skin line for an entire Empire's hulls. So the most recent one is the green and white Oasis of Faith.
yeah. But what was the
Matt was feeling all at home with the whole 80s retro vibe.
No, that's the wrong kind of. I like the Blade Runner synth pop. You know,
You got a Blade Runner reference right in there.
well, not the neon. You know, that's
No. But the with or without voiceover.
Yeah. One thing I will say that one of the things that he's that when they were talking about the bots and how they've worked against the bots and got it down 80%, those graphs were amazing. You could see that it's a huge drop, but the massive drop, the cliff, right when blackout started, it just flattened this the botting that was going on, and then it slowly starts coming back, and it stays like much lower than it was before, but it was that cliff was so impressive. But one thing he says is even if you're buying ISK, illicit ISK off the gray market or the black market, you're condoning the practice. It's more than condoning, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you're literally supporting them.
You're
You're
incentivizing
directly encouraging them to continue.
Yeah, so it's not like you're saying it's okay. It's worse than that. You're actually making it profitable.
You're funding terrorism.
Yeah.
You become the purpose of it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're the one who buys is the reason that thing exists. If nobody bought it, then no one would be selling it.
So anyway, I thought it could have been a little stronger language there, but whatever. I mean, the point is you're part of the problem too, which is what he was trying to get across. Well,
there's actually potential lore implications from this because that's 11 years. 11 years ago, there was copy that was written by whoever was in charge of lore. I don't know if it was Delegate Zero at the time or whatever, but 11 years ago, there was copy written that we never got to hear, and now we're getting to hear it. So there may be nothing in there. It may just be interesting and fun, but there may actually be stuff in there that reveals answers to questions or gives us direction or raises new questions that we don't have. So I'm sure this is going to get picked apart. I'm sure that every single person in the Arataka Research Consortium has watched this video 10 times already.
Well, watching this specific part, you're talking about the trailer for Apocrypha, which was the expansion in 2009 that brought in wormholes and T3 cruisers. And they had a voiceover, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so we never got to hear those words. We never got that copy that was written 11 years ago, and now we're getting it. And this was the introduction of Anoikis, of all the wormholes, all that sleeper stuff, all that drifter stuff, progressed the story significantly, and now we have some fresh information that has been held back. So maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but this is going to get picked apart for sure.
So was it an original old recording on the voiceover, or was it the text written that was then remade with a new voiceover? That's
the implication was that there were two finished videos. I don't think that they brought in someone and hired them to do the recording now. Although it's entirely possible. That's not what the language sounded like.
I have to say, from my opinion, I thought it was a mistake to release the mysterious one without voiceover, because to me it was one of the weakest trailers for one of the best expansions. And that voiceover might have given me a little more to bite onto, because I did not understand what was going on when I watched it back then.
Talking about back to the RMT problem, there been reported like some ISK seller are trying to scam the new players. This new players who don't know what is RMT, what is boarding. Then they just says, oh, it's this really safe way. It's really like how you play this game a little bit easy, and our ISK is 100%
That's a good
trustable.
Hold on.
Some of the buyers are victims as well. They don't even know.
That's Tubashu. That's Tubashu that talked earlier, and that's Funsway that's talking now. Go ahead. What were you saying, Funsway?
No, I was just clarifying, like, in case anyone didn't get the exact message. Like, he's saying that a lot of the people who end up buying ISK from the illegal RMT sellers, from the botters, etc., don't know that it's wrong. That these botters are presenting themselves, these RMT sellers are presenting themselves as a legitimate, safe service to players who don't know better.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. You're right. We always assume that people know better, but maybe not.
And just back to the thing we were talking about yesterday about risk, right? Honestly, the price difference is not enough to risk your entire wealth on getting back.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's in the immediate practical sense. In the larger practical sense, every dollar that doesn't go to CCP that could have gone to CCP would have made the game better. And in a non-practical and just a simple moral sense, it's, you're contributing to a problem as opposed to contributing to the solution. It's not even, negative versus neutral. It's negative versus positive. So make the right choice.
Right. Okay. Do we have anything else today as far as game goes? If not, I'd like to hand.
Well, there was one update today on Hobo Leaks. It was clarified. To be clear, this is not a mechanics change. This is a text string change that tells us what the mechanic does. The daily skilling spree task, the reward, the credit is not for killing blow as it was for the NPC skilling spree. The NPC skilling spree credited the killing blow. The player versus player kills are for top damage.
Oh, I see. So you can get, do we know how much you get and what you need to do to get it?
There's only one task as of current. There were two that were added to the database, but no one has gotten anything but one. Every single character for every single player on every single account has gotten the same exact task, which is kill one Capsuleer frigate or larger for 10,000 skill points. And it was that text string was clarified today to say that it is get top damage, not the killing blow. The other task that was added was to kill the faction warfare Plex NPC. So no one's gotten that one yet. So it's in the database, but they clearly have not put it in rotation. They may add others. If you listen to Convict's message in this Pulse video, in addition to any time this has been mentioned, either in text or recorded, it has stated, they said rewards, they've been vague. They've been unclear about what the specific rewards are. So we've only seen the one. There's a second in the database. They may or may not add more. We will see.
I have a little bit of tin foil if you want it, Merrill.
He's headset off. He got a phone call, so you should just go ahead.
No, well, I don't know if because yesterday we talked about Serenity, as far as I remember, and whether or not the new servers that are going to be run by NetEase are going to be continuing from 2018, or whether they are potentially going to be a day zero reset completely.
I believe Matterall got some information on that. I'm not sure if it was discussed.
He didn't get it from any devs. He got it from a player. What I did was I actually tweeted directly to Aurora and Hilma, and they promised to get back with a finalized answer very soon. So I'm just going to go out and say, well, if they reply like that, my tinfoil hat says that they would only reply like that if it's a day zero reset, right? Because if it's a 2018, then it's pretty much business as usual, and they could.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to delay announcing that. You think that the fact that they're delaying announcing it is indicative of the fact that they've decided to reset?
Yeah, that's pretty much what my tinfoil hat says, because that's what you would expect.
I'll go with that because I want a reset.
No, I've been hearing from quite trusted sources that it's not. It's going to be a continuation from 2018.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. It's a continuation of 2018. I've heard it from two different sources that would know.
So yeah, can you talk about what can you share about that? Because we were curious. That's what was brought up while you were headset off.
Yeah, sorry. Wanted to make that clear. The best information that we have, because everything else I think is built on speculation, but the information we have from people who would know some of this stuff say it's going to be dialed back to where it left off. It will not be a clean slate. And I can't tell you who the sources are, but I can just tell you there are people who would probably know, but that don't necessarily work for CCP.
This is why I seriously doubt that, because the market value, the mere hype and marketing value of doing a 0-day reset is just too big for CCP to be dumb enough to actually do the rollback. They might do some sort of migration of some of the assets, like the progression on skills and maybe plex value in the game, which they would be kind of almost obligated to. But I don't think assets inside the game will migrate.
There's a lot of options that they have in terms of the game state that they select. They could go with as is. They can go with characters and skill points as is, assets and currency removed. They can, like, there's all sorts of different things they can do. I personally think that the best move would be a full-on server wipe. Everything is nothing and start over. I don't know if they're going to go for it.
Yes, we're talking
just
about...
just to comment what Nick said, right? Because one of the problems with Serenity was that it was almost a finished game. It was like, it was done. It was closed.
Yep, it was completed.
Well,
and you don't want to start a game at finished state.
Well,
yeah, you needed, in order to break in and play on Serenity as a brand new player without any resources, you had to find someone to sponsor you in terms of currency, because the market was so broken that even the most basic items, so we're talking ammunition, basic frigates, things that are available to everyone on Tranquility, these were inaccessible through all system-generated resources. So ISK that you get for missions and things of that sort were not even close enough to being enough to get anything on the market. So what you found was you essentially had a game where it was day zero for a new player. They had to go and literally do everything themselves unless they found a sponsor and joined up, and no one was going to build nothing for themselves. So that is a situation that they would want to avoid. If they go with an as-is spin-up, then it will be as it was, and they will probably have to take specific surgical measures to disrupt that current finished state and restore some sort of a stable balance. I don't know what they'll do, but I still think that the best option in terms of the easiest way to create a non-stagnant economy, as well as the positive opportunity and the excitement and selling point of this is the third time in human history that an EVE Online world has been spun up. The first time was Tranquility. The second time was Serenity, and that got broken. And this is the third time, and it may never happen again, ever. CCP is not, it only has Serenity existing because of laws. The direction, the trend in terms of number of copies of the world is likely to go down, not up. They will never add a third world. They will somehow, maybe in the future, find a way to merge Serenity in. Who knows? Probably not. But the point is that if this may be the last chance CCP has to start Eve.
Okay.
And just to point out that the things that Fonsui just talked about and the problems in the game ecosystem, if they then patched the server to match some of the scarcity stuff that we're getting in the Tranquility server, that's like pulling up the ladder. Then anyone starting out at a 2018 state, patch 2 today, then the catch-up is going to be impossible. That's like a broken game. So a reset, in my opinion, is the only solution. I would really facepalm if they don't do that.
Okay, but this is wishful thinking on both your parts, and these are arguments to wipe the Serenity server clean and to start with nobody having territory. Are you guys also advocating that characters start with no experience points or no skill points?
Scorched Earth. Well, because you have to take into account that if they've been injecting SP into those characters, they are also going to have a huge advantage in comparison with the new normal that everyone else would be starting at. So
I would be willing.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, I'd be willing to give on letting people keep their characters and skill points, but that would be a compromise that I'd be willing to make. I think it would be much better to do Scorched Earth.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's my counter to it. First of all, we want to make it clear that the Serenity server is coming back. It's not back yet. It just passed regulation, which is great. So it will be coming back. And we're speculating on, will it come back as where it left off with the territory conquered by the people who conquered it, or will they start fresh and create a brand new world that people have to reskill up and reconquer and create that land rush or that excitement? Now, my counter to your argument, you guys are advocating for starting with a clean slate, but my counter to that is, if the tools have changed so dramatically, is it possible that the solved games, quote unquote, that Caleb is talking about can unsolve itself with some of the changes that are happening now to the game?
So I mentioned that they could spin up the game as is and then make surgical disruptions that will break up the the solidity of the economy as it is and cause it to start flowing again. But that's A, questionable, and B, a more difficult and involved and longer process than just nuking it from orbit, because it's the only way to be sure.
And as we've already heard, a lot of EVE players that are currently playing on TQ would be very interested in actually trying out playing in a day zero world, especially with the potential of it being patched to the new normal, right? So I just see it as a lost opportunity if they don't do it, because I honestly, from a pure marketing perspective, I have no vested interest in Serenity at all, personally. So just from a marketing perspective, if they don't do it, it's a massive mistake.
Okay,
I completely agree.
Here's a few points to consider then. So Serenity in its original format was a Chinese-only client. You had to play Chinese text. There was no ability to change the text. So that would rule out a lot of the Westerners, shall we say, being able to play the game effectively. Second thing is a lot of the players that were playing EVE on Serenity when it went down in 2018 have migrated over to Tranquility. The ones that didn't have pretty much left the EVE scene from what I've been hearing. So a lot of the people saying it's going to be a clean slate, I doubt they'll get a lot of the people that are playing on Tranquility or who used to play on EVE back to play on Serenity again using a clean slate. So
they will draw new players. You give me a fresh EVE, I want to play. I'm not even in China.
But why?
I'd love to see that, but the problem with that is you've got to now go the other way through the Great Firewall of China, which isn't.
No, understood. I'm not saying that should be expected. I don't believe it's allowed by the license agreement. I still think it's going to happen, but that's not the direction I'm talking about. All I'm saying is there is a new product within China for Chinese players. That new product is best presented as a scorched earth, brand new EVE world, as opposed to something as it was. Looking at it in a vacuum from now going forward, forgetting about what it used to be, could be, should be, whatever. What can we get right now? And I think the best results from this point forward would be obtained by a zero world.
Okay,
especially because it's NetEase, right? So you've got the cross-pollination feed from Eve Echoes, and it would be in NetEase interest to do it like that, in my opinion.
Again,
the other thing is as well is that if I sorry, Mal, if I was NetEase and CCP, I would not allow any form of transfer of characters, plex from
None. Absolutely none.
No
for
transfer
two reasons. One, gives them a boost already in the game. Second thing is, Chinese authorities will take a little liking to that because that proves that
that wouldn't
having to use VPNs to get out of the firewall to get onto Tranquility.
Well, that wouldn't be that. I don't think that, regardless of what it proves, that connection in and of itself would violate agreements.
Yes, but the thing is you got to remember is in China to play Chinese games, you've got to give real life name, real life address, real life phone numbers. It's a lot more Big Brother over there. So having that ability to transfer stuff over from Tranquility basically paints a big red target on your back going, I was doing something dodgy.
Well, I wonder if they have less trolls because of that. More accountability. I wonder if they have less trolls. Anyway, again,
it's the aim for it.
Our best information is that the server is coming back, continuing from where it was before.
Which is December or October of 2018, which is a year and 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And just to paraphrase someone that's actually got a lot of insight in the industry, the fact that they even got this approval is a huge, huge thing for CCP. And the fact that they are doing it with the partner they already work with is just a massive benefit, right? So I, as some have already said, if they roll this out right, it could be competitive with Tranquility in popularity and numbers very much earlier than people expect.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry. How do we think it's going to affect TQ Chinese time zone?
I was exactly going to say
very interesting.
That's really interesting.
So it should hurt the Tranquility Chinese time zone.
Well, if they do go to a clean slate, I think the people who will be very interested in it are people like Ranger Regiment, China Soul Watchman, people like that. People like Army Mango's probably not too interested in a clean slate, but I could see Ranger Regiment, the people that have lost all their assets in Tranquility going, I tell you what, clean slate, clean start, we're off over to our home.
Anyone
who's coming back.
Sorry. No. Any group.
They might. Well, go ahead.
Well, any group that strongly believes in themselves, that has a good internal rhetoric, that believes that it's only circumstance that is holding them back or the current status quo, those groups will be the ones who want to find themselves on Serenity if it's zeroed out.
It's really interesting to see what's Chinese player in TQ gonna do. Like we have a lot of Chinese player in TQ right now. If the Chinese server are back, then they are gonna going back or stay here.
Tubashu, are you? Hold on, Tubashu, are you Chinese?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you have any extra insight into this? Or do you know anything about Serenity?
I'm like pure TQ player. Never played.
Never, just TQ.
Chinese server.
So that's a very interesting perspective to have. So does the prospect of a fresh Serenity appeal to you?
He's a TQ player, though. He has no reference to Serenity.
Yeah. So as a TQ player, what does a fresh Serenity sound like to you?
I don't care actually. will stay in TQ, of course, and I don't care about how the things going. I wouldn't play the Chinese server.
Yeah, that's what that's what I would assume. I don't think it's. I think the only thing that your Western players or Tranquility server players care about is how is it going to affect that late night time zone? Will that be a softer time zone than it was? And this is like a big deal for Sort Dragon. Maybe he can reconstitute darkness. Maybe he reconstitutes his importance in the Australian time zone. Do you know? Like things were definitely going the opposite direction, but now that Serenity is a possible pull of Chinese players off of Tranquility, possible, right? Then maybe he gets to have a second, third, fourth, fifth. What is he now on his 11th act?
Well, yeah, but we have to also remember the fact that a Serenity server run by NetEase will most likely have some differences from TQ, right? You might see a more lenient attitude towards what we would in TQ call pay to win, right? There might be a lot more hardcore monetization models running on a Serenity server.
Never.
All right, we're going to continue more of this live, real time in TIS Discord, talkinginstations.com. Follow that to Discord. Once you get into Discord, jump into these voice channels and hang out with people as they talk about these topics and more. We're going to wrap up for the day. And I think, I don't know yet, but we may take some time off. And I'm almost certain I'm going to take off several weeks, unfortunately. I haven't decided yet. But we're hunkering down in Los Angeles. There's going to be a lot of working from home. A lot of family staying home. I think schools are closing. All this is happening right now. We don't know which way it's going to go. That phone call I just got was information on school closures, which is why I had to take it. So that may mean that I'll have a full house and not be able to broadcast, unfortunately, at least not on stream. I may do something with just audio. Don't know. I wish I could be more certain of it, but it would be nice to keep you guys company for the next few months as everybody deals with this COVID-19 virus. In any case, I want to say thanks for watching today. We'll go ahead and raid. While I raid, do you guys have anything left? Anything else you want to say?
I'll talk down here.
All right. Tamaya Cowboy. Check it out. It's good fun. All right. Shutting off stream.